Walk into a dealership with a veteran rider, someone who cut their teeth on a three-wheeler or an early four-tracks. Watch them look at the shiny new models. You won't see awe, you'll see confusion, then frustration, and finally, a simmering anger. It's a feeling that's spreading like wildfire through the generation that built this sport. They feel priced out, locked out, and frankly insulted by the machines being built in their name. This isn't nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. This is a fundamental clash of values. The industry has pivoted so dramatically that it's now building products that actively alienate its most knowledgeable, dedicated, and historically loyal customer base, the experienced rider over 50. Here's why new ATVs are making old riders so angry. Reason 1. The assault of unnecessary complexity. An old rider's philosophy is simple. The fewer things that can break, the better. They see a new ATV and don't see capability, they see a Christmas tree of failure points. Digital gauges that can glitch and cost $800 to replace, ride-by-wire throttles with no mechanical cable, 5 different drive modes no one asked for, complex proprietary CAN bus electrical systems where a single faulty sensor can strand the whole machine. Their anger comes from the loss of self-sufficiency. On a 1995 Foreman, they could diagnose and fix 95% of problems with a basic toolkit. On a 2025 model, the first step is often a $5,000 dealer diagnostic computer. The machine has been engineered to exclude the owner from its own maintenance, turning them from a rider mechanic into a helpless customer waiting for a service appointment. This feels like a betrayal of the self-reliant spirit that defined off-roading. Reason 2. The ergonomic betrayal, form over function. New ATVs are styled to look aggressive in showrooms, often at the expense of practical use. Old riders look at them and see a laundry list of ergonomic failures. They see low, swooping plastic that catches on every branch and makes simple tasks like checking the oil a contortionist's act. They see seats that are sculpted for a racing crouch but are agony on a 3-hour trail ride. They see handlebars mounted with bizarre bends that don't match the natural position of wrists that have seen 40 years of work. They see critical controls, light switches, 4WD levers, buried in menus on a touchscreen or placed in unintuitive spots. The machine isn't designed for the work of riding, it's designed for the aesthetic of riding, and experienced riders see right through it. Reason 3. The extinction of the honest mid-power workhorse. This is a core economic anger. Old riders don't need and often don't want a 1000cc twin-cylinder monster. They want a reliable, torquey 700 to 700cc single or twin that can do a day's work without drinking a tank of fuel. But the market has bifurcated. On one end, you have anemic, underpowered entry-level models built to a price point with cheap components. On the other, you have the overpowered, over-featured, and outrageously expensive flagship models. The sensible middle, the honest, well-built, moderately powered machine like the classic Honda Rancher 420 or the Kawasaki Prairie 700, has been largely erased or gussied up into a premium trim that costs twice as much. Old riders feel forced to choose between a toy and a bank loan, with no good option for the practical tool they actually need. Reason 4. The dumbing down of the driving experience. New ATVs come with an array of digital nannies, traction control, hill descent control, multiple riding modes, and ultra-light power steering. To an engineer, these are aids. To an old rider, they are insults. These systems are seen as a crutch for poor technique. They create a layer of digital numbness between the rider and the terrain. The anger comes from the feeling that the machine no longer rewards skill. You're not riding, you're managing a suite of assistive technologies. The visceral feedback, the need to modulate the throttle precisely on a climb, the skill of picking a line and steering through effort, all of it is being sanitized away. It creates a generation of riders who don't know how to handle a machine without computer intervention, which old riders see as a degradation of the sport itself. Reason 5. The planned obsolescence and the parts apocalypse. An old rider buys a machine expecting to keep it for 20 years.
They look at a new ATV and see a device with a planned service life. They see non-serviceable components welded shut. They see proprietary electronic modules that the manufacturer will only support for 10 years. They see a machine designed to be traded in, not rebuilt. This is anathema to their worldview. Their anger is fueled by the certainty that in 15 years, their $15,000 investment will be a worthless brick because a singular discontinued ECU or display cluster failed and is nowhere to be found. They see the industry abandoning the concept of stewardship, of keeping a good machine running for decades, in favor of a disposable upgrade cycle mentality. Reason 6, the pricing insanity, the final straw. This is where the theoretical anger becomes financial rage. Old riders remember when a top-of-the-line ATV cost the same as a decent used car. Now it costs as much as a new one. The $15,000 to $20,000 price tag for a loaded utility quad isn't just expensive, it's obscene. It represents a fundamental misjudgment of the product's value. It prices the very people who have the skill to appreciate it, the land to use it on, and the history with the brand completely out of the new buyer market. They see this as the industry chasing luxury margins at the expense of its core blue-collar roots. They're not just being left behind, they're feeling they're being mocked by the pricing. The result is a permanent divorce. This anger isn't a passing grumble, it's causing a permanent behavioral shift. Old riders are not waiting for the industry to come to its senses. They are voting with their wallets in a very clear way. 1. They are leaving the new market entirely, creating the boomer dump that's flooding the market with their pristine used machines. 2. They are becoming a lost generation of buyers that marketing cannot reach because the products fundamentally oppose their values. 3. They are perpetuating the classic market, keeping 10, 15, and 20-year-old machines running beautifully, proving that their philosophy of simplicity and durability was right all along. The new machines might be technological marvels, but in the eyes of the old guard, they've lost the plot completely. This rift creates a fascinating two-tiered future. On one level, you'll have the glossy, tech-forward future the manufacturers are betting on. Silent electric UTVs with autonomous driving modes, subscription-based performance unlocks, and social media-integrated dash cams. This is the path for the new, digitally native rider. But beneath it, thriving in the shadows, will be the parallel universe of the old rider. It will be a world of refurbished carburetors, 3D printed replacement parts for discontinued plastics, and online forums dedicated to keeping the last analog machines alive. The obsolete 2005 Foreman will become a coveted classic, its value sustained not by nostalgia, but by its sheer, unkillable utility and the freedom to fix it yourself. The anger, therefore, is not just about a bad product. It's a profound sense of loss for a culture. The culture of the weekend wrench, the shared knowledge, the smell of gasoline and grease, the satisfaction of a trail fix with a pocket knife and some ingenuity. New ATVs don't just reject old parts, they reject that entire culture. They signal that the future of riding is consumption, not participation. It's about buying an experience, not cultivating a skill. So when you see that old rider shaking his head in the dealership, he's not just complaining about a price tag, he's witnessing the closure of his world. He's reading the obituary for a type of freedom that required your hands to be dirty, your mind to be sharp, and your connection to the machine to be direct and unmediated. His anger is a eulogy for that version of the sport. And in 2026, that eulogy will be delivered not with words, but with the sound of a perfectly tuned 20-year-old engine starting on the first pull, while the new machine sits on the showroom floor, waiting for a buyer who understands its touchscreen better than its soul.